Good afternoon, everybody. This is Pastor Mark McDonald with First United Methodist Church of Batesville with a weekly update. I'm posting a little earlier today because our lead announcement today is that our parking lot worship service for our Healthcare Heroes recognition has been postponed 1 week. You should have gotten a one call, either a phone call or a message, depending on how you signed up for that. If you're not part of our one call network, that is an automated phone system that calls with messages. We try to keep that for more urgent church-wide needs. So that went out this morning. If you're not part of that, let us know in the church office that you would like to be part of that. We'll need your phone number, email address, text message if you'd like that, but we do have those available as well. If you're not getting that, please let us know because we do get information out quickly, such as closures or postponements like this. But our Healthcare Heroes service that was scheduled at 6 o'clock tonight is now going to be next Wednesday, November 4th at 6 p.m. We'll have a reminder of that next week, but because of the weather that we have today, we want to make sure we have a wonderful environment to celebrate those who are working on the front line of healthcare. Also, I want to let you know that this Sunday is Communion Sunday, but it's going to be done in a special light. This Sunday is also All Saints Day. All Saints Day is a Sunday in our church, or a day in our church's heritage that recognizes those who are part of our congregation, who are members, who have passed away in the last year. We have 10 names that we will read as we come to that time of communion. So we're going to broadcast our communion on Facebook and on YouTube live at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's between our 9 o'clock contemporary service and our 11 o'clock traditional service, but at 10 o'clock we'll have that broadcast, so I invite you to come and join us for that. We will recognize All Saints Day. I'll share a little bit about that, read the names, have a time of prayer, and then celebrate the life that is there. And so I invite you to join us at 10 o'clock. We will also have that on our radio broadcast at the end of the radio broadcast. So that will be there as well if you listen by radio. So remember, this Sunday's Communion Sunday. We have our normal services at 9 and 11, but we also have a special Communion and All Saints Day recognition at 10 a.m. and at the end of our radio broadcast. Excited to be able to share those with you and remember the promise that communion gives us for life evermore. I also want to share with you that we have lost our deposits from our youth mission trip. We put down deposits that were non-refundable for our youth mission trip, which was canceled, of course, because of COVID. We were thinking we might be able to reschedule it at a later day, but we have given up on that possibility for that particular trip and look forward to our next mission trip. If you put a deposit down for one of your youth to go on our mission trip, and if you need that money back, we'll give you your money back. Our church will not receive that money. So if you're able to donate that, we appreciate it. But if you need that deposit refunded, contact me, contact Lori, let us know, and we'll get that deposit refunded for you. However, we have lost those. So we want to let you know about that, and we'll have that included in next week's newsletter as well. Also want to share the big news, aside from all those big news events, is the work continues in our sanctuary. As you can see from these pictures, they are moving along. What has happened so far has been a combination of work that is done on some water damage from an air conditioner leak behind the sanctuary, where they have completely pulled off the ceiling and the walls painted, and we're working on the flooring for that room as well, new carpet to go back in there. That's all part of an insurance claim that pays for all of that. That also painted the main hallway from the sanctuary all down to the main entrance on both the first and second floors of our sanctuary and administrative buildings. So we've gotten a lot of work done with that. It's moving along. The big work that we're focusing on, of course, is our sanctuary. And as you may remember, our sanctuary is part of a renovation program that we started several years ago, about 3 years ago, and it has 3 distinct phases. The first phase was repairing the roof. We had some bad water damage that had happened over the years. It had been fixed once and failed, and so we went back in and did a complete re-roofing, new procedures in that, and spent quite a bit, a couple $100,000 fixing the roof. That has been paid off, all but about $30 or $35,000 of that debt has been retired and paid off. And we were planning on paying that off and then moving to the second phase, which was fixing the walls and the trim in the sanctuary that had been damaged by that water leak. But because of the COVID closure and the fact that we're not in the sanctuary, our trustees, at the suggestion of some other leaders, decided to go ahead and move that up. And we have some money in the bank to help with that, but not all of it. We're moving that process up to begin that work. So what they have done in the sanctuary so far is scrape off all of the damaged plaster. They are going to repair all of the wood that has been damaged, which turns out to be very little. We're grateful for that. We thought that might slow us down. They have now scraped and caulked all of the windows and prepared it, and they are working on the ceiling to prime and paint and retexture the ceiling. So as you might notice in the pictures that we showed, the chandeliers are taped and dropped down a ways, so they found ways to prepare for that. They've also done some texturing on ceiling in the room that was damaged by the other water. So that's where they are. We've got the scaffolding set up. They're getting ready to start the work on the ceiling, and then it'll move into priming and painting the walls and redoing the trim, making sure everything looks beautiful in there. In that process, the trustees were trying to figure out how we can move to the third phase, which is to repair all of our historic windows. And as we looked at that, we decided that we would bring in an interior designer that was paid for by a member of the church. And that interior decorator came in and made some suggestions to us. She had a lot of things that caught me off guard, and I want to share some of that with you so you'll know how we arrived at some of the things that are before us. She came in and shared with us that it was very important in our sanctuary, as we had wanted, to keep a very traditional church look. And so she noticed the windows very quickly. You know, our windows are over 100 years old. They are the most historic feature of our church, of our sanctuary, except for maybe the pews. I'm not sure of the age of those, but that just brings out the beauty of the sanctuary. And so she pointed out in all the colors, and you can see some right behind me. I'm sitting in my office with one of those windows. I'll go the other way. You can see some of the colors that are in that. The tan that is up in this area comes out in all the trim. There is a tan. There is a yellowish color on the wall, and so she recommended we go to a less yellow wall. So we went with a linen white kind of color. It's a tan. It's beautiful. Just a minor shade change in that, which will bring out more of that color from the windows. But the other thing that you notice is that we have red carpet and red chairs throughout the sanctuary, and she pointed out how that is just a part of this small trim right at the bottom of most windows. Just a little bit of a floret is red, and so that brings out a minor feature of it. But there's nothing in our sanctuary that covers the green that you can see. I feel like a weather prompter here trying to do this against the green screen. That green that's up in there is all through our windows, and it kind of envelops the window. So you've got the columns that run up and down. I never realized how hard this is for weather forecasters. You've got that color that runs through it, and there's nothing in our sanctuary that does that. So she made a suggestion that I did not like at first. She suggested that we go to a green carpet. Now, if you're like me, you'd think of a bright green or something, but it was more of a sage green. We looked at some samples. The trustees met 2 or 3 times, met with her, and looked at those samples, this sage kind of green. And so she recommended that we do that to pull out more of our windows. So as we were replacing the carpet, which we have money funded for that, and we have money that had been given over the years for carpet and pew cushions. And so those were 2 of the things that were part of that second phase of the major sanctuary renovation. Excuse me. As we look at that, that green became something she thought would bring out and bring a warmth into it. Red is kind of an alarm color, and so it's very loud. But if you're a traditional Methodist, you know I've been in dozens of churches with that beautiful look that our sanctuary has. If you're not Methodist, you're not so used to it. So she was suggesting we go to a warmer, more comforting feel of that green. Again, I did not like that idea at first, but then when I saw the samples and saw what it did and moved toward the historic look of the stained glass windows, drawing those out, I was sold. The trustees grappled over this quite a bit, and there were struggles on whether we wanted to change, and there are some that do not want to change, I'm sure. And when we presented it to the church council, there was definitely some resistance. And so what we're doing is letting you see that before we order that. We've got 2 weeks to bring everybody on and let you see that. So we've set up this small display. First, I'll show you just a picture of the contrast. Here's one of the windows that normally hangs in our hallway outside the sanctuary. It gives you a good contrast of the tan and the greens and some of the colors. This window doesn't have the reds in it, but we're looking at that green color. And then you see a small swatch of the new color of the wall. and then a little piece of the carpet that's suggested. It's called a wood. Oh my goodness, I can't remember the name of it right now. That's drawing a blank. I'm not a color palette person, but it's this color of green. It's kind of a woodland. That's it, woodland green, like a dark sage green with a little bit more of a dark hue to it. That's so that it keeps from showing dirt. That little darker hue does. This is also a commercial grade carpet. We have a residential grade carpet in the sanctuary now, and if you've noticed, it has lots of ripples. It's been stretched 2 or 3 times, but it keeps pulling back in. Part of the reason for that is it's a residential carpet. We're getting a moderate traffic commercial carpet for this. And so there it is. Now we have this display posted by the main entrance. That's where the covered drop-off area is. As you walk into the main entrance that most of us use, it's in between the youth and children's building and the administration building. So in that main entrance, if you drive through the covered drop-off, you'll see this window there. It's a lighted window, so you'll see it'll kind of reflect what it's like when the sunlight comes through the window. And then we have these small samples taped on that. I would suggest you bring a flashlight that you can shine into it so you can see. But I invite you to look at this. What I'm asking you to do is to understand that this is many people perceive this as a significant change. And so I want you to be open-minded about this. The trustees have put tens, maybe 20 hours into this decision and praying through this. The council met and struggled through. The main question that drives everything we do is this: does this help us accomplish our mission? Does this help us make disciples of Jesus Christ? Now, you may be like me and say, you know what, carpet color really is not that big of a factor in it. And it's not. But I think what I want you to hear is how much hard work and thought and prayer that the trustees have put into this, trying to find a way to build on our past and recognize the windows that are in there, but also bring that out as we move into a future. The change will give us a new step from COVID. So the trustees have a very heartfelt, genuine recommendation for this that they're moving toward, but they want your feedback. So you can look at these pictures here. You can drive by the church and come by and look at it in the windowed door, or the glass door that's there. We've got it set up. And I would suggest that you bring a flashlight to look at it and ask yourself the question: does this help or hurt our mission? If that's not something that's answered, let us know how you feel about it. I mean, that's that simple. We want to know your thoughts before we take this step. I believe that this is an exciting change that recognizes that when we come out of COVID, we're going to be different. I believe we're going to be a stronger church. So I invite you to give your feedback, be open-minded about this, and be loving. Express the truth and love, because people are pouring their hearts into this. It's easy to be emotional, and we are emotional beings, but I'm asking you to be loving and caring and genuine in your conversation. But take a look at it, give us some feedback. You've got about a week and a half to do that before we order the carpet, so we just don't want you to be surprised with that. So that's a long update, but I think it's an important one, and it's a timely one because we're working hard at our best to see if we can open up the sanctuary by Christmas Eve to have some services, probably smaller in attendance. That's our goal, but the longer it takes to make these decisions, and if we run into bumps, that may not happen. So we're not making promises, but that is our goal, is to have some Christmas Eve services. So we want your input on a quick basis. That's why we're asking you to do this in the next several days to a week, if possible, so we can move ahead. I want to close today on a personal note as well, and I know that's a lot to process, but as I began this, I was sharing with you that this Sunday is All Saints Day, and it's a day that we're going to recognize communion and recognize that communion reminds us that even in the face of death, we know that life goes on. I have a personal loss in my family. My nephew was tragically lost last night, and it was a shock to us and a surprise. I'll be dealing with that over the next several days or a week, and I will be here and coming and going to Little Rock with our family, and I don't know what the plans will be for that. But I appreciate your prayers in that time and your understanding as I'm dealing with that in my life and the loss in our family as we continue to move through that and try to keep my eyes on the promise that we will be celebrating this Sunday in communion and All Saints Day, that no matter what the world gives us, no matter how complicated this is, God is there. God is guiding us through this. And it made me realize very strongly that carpet color and wall paint and all these things, it's nothing compared to the way that we love each other and show our love for God in that way. So I pray that you'll continue to lift my family up in this time of loss, but I also pray that you'll continue to work together, share with your heart, share in genuine love with one another. This is a hard time to be a church. to have the building closed, but we are doing some amazing things. And I'm so proud of the way that we are moving through this together. With the COVID virus rising in many ways, I certainly would encourage you to be extra cautious and extra careful wearing your masks. I carry mine around almost all the time. When I forget them, I don't know what to do now. I'm tired of them too, and I want to be back in worship, but we are being super cautious and taking care, loving one another, and loving God. Remember the mission of our church, our mission statement. That's above all else, to love God, love others, and serve the world. Keep those things before you. Keep each other lifted up in prayer. Let's support and encourage each other in these times, and know that God is making all things new. I hope you have a blessed night and a blessed week, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Be a blessing, my friends.